I found myself lying on the table in the trauma center of a hospital twice in my life. Both times, statistically speaking, I should have walked away with more bodily damage than I did. Statistically speaking, I shouldn't have been able to walk away, but I did. When I walked out of those hospitals, I walked out with a feeling that my life would never be the same. A feeling that what I just experienced, that what I had just been blessed to live through, would change me for the rest of my time here. Yet both times, I've returned to the status quo of living like I'm never gonna die with a vengeance. Almost like I missed it.
What happens when I'm suicidal vibrations all through my spinal? From the hits of the vinyl, my mind will be in the Bible. I will see the signs and I'll probably not understand a lot. Rode into town yesterday.
When my grandma was passing away, I held her hand in her bedroom and said thank you for taking my brothers and I to Del Taco as kids in her green Honda Accord. A small act that she did on a regular basis that I never want to forget. Even though she had lost verbal capabilities, I sat there and talked to her like I hadn't talked to her in years. Because I hadn't talked to her in years. I talked to her like I cared about her, that no matter what she believed or who she was, that none of that mattered. Because she was my grandma. And more importantly, she was a human being. I sat there looking at her while thinking back on all the opportunities I'd used to stay away, as opposed to allowing her to be in my life. When I was holding her hand and feeling her weak pulse, I thought if I could only have a couple more years, that I would treat this relationship differently. I sat there and held her hand, feeling that life was nothing but the bedroom that I was in with her. I felt that I could fully grasp the reality that there is no past and the future will never come. That sitting by this hospice bed is all I have and all I've ever needed. That this moment I spent with my grandma in one of her last moments was the most vivid moment of my life. It made those milliseconds before the crashes and the trips to the trauma center feel like a story someone once told me. But this moment, here with my grandma in her bedroom, was reality. Because this time, there was no adrenaline, and there was no maybe. As soon as I walked out of my grandma's bedroom and pulled out of her driveway, I wiped the tears from my eyes, and once again, she was the past, and the future was all I was in. How was I going to get enough sleep for tomorrow's schedule? How was I going to get through this week? How dope is this new skateboard? Before I even made it to the on-ramp, I had turned my grandma into who she had been in my life for the past 6 years. A collection of good times in the Honda Accord. She was passing away in her bedroom, but I was treating the situation all the same. I was only thinking about myself. The bottom half of my right shin is numb and has been since my first trip to the trauma center in high school. It's been months since I've had a conscious thought about it, maybe even a year. I haven't thought about the trauma center in itself until last summer when I was in the ambulance racing past Hollywood Bowl traffic, getting ready for my second drive-in appointment. That's how marginalized of a memory my near-life ending experience has become to me. The beauty of life is that the pain doesn't last. But what if I wanted to? I want to remember the severity of the pain of the month that followed that helicopter flight. I want to remember the milliseconds last summer that felt like a lifetime when I realized that car was not going to stop. I want to remember the look my grandma gave me when I talked to her about how much I appreciated Del Taco. The full palette of emotions that those tears embodied running down my face. I want to remember how it felt about not really knowing who she was, yet understanding that without her, I would never be here. That if she would not have done, been, or become who she was, that I would have never been given the opportunities that I have today. That she had sacrificed so much for me, and yet my ego was what was separating me from her. I don't want to return to status quo. I hate how easy it is to forget. Before I know it, I'm back wearing the same clothes I had on yesterday, treating my left hand like it's a lover I hate, and acting like I will always have my tomorrow. Even though now, my right arm has joined my right shin and reminding me on a daily basis of just how temporary I am. I find myself fantasizing about never returning to status quo. I fantasize about being able to remember the pain in life, both physical and mental. I fantasize about never forgetting my grandma's bedroom, where I had the opportunity to say goodbye. But I wonder If I could fully remember the pain that living life brings, would I be able to function? Would I be able to get up and move? Would I be able to become more than I am today? Would I be able to make it back to the on-ramp? Or is the beauty in life that the pain doesn't last? That as severe and painful as anything I may go through in this life may be, is the beauty that I still have the ability to go outside and see the sunlight? Is the beauty that I'm able to make it back to the on-ramp?